This terrible noise, and I was tangled in strings. Had to kill the other guy.
You killed someone?
Wouldn't have been my first call, but we're faced with ugly choices.
Who sent you?
Noise, and I was tangled in strings. Noise, and I was tangled in strings. Had to kill the other guy.
You killed someone?
Wouldn't have been my first call, but we're faced with ugly choices.
Who sent you?
I see a suit of armor on the world.
Ultron.
In the flesh. I'm on mission.
What mission?
Peace in our time.
Yeah!
That was dramatic. I'm sorry, I know you mean well. You just didn't think it through. You want to protect the world, but you don't want it to change. There's only one path to peace. The Avengers' extinction.
Had strings, but now I'm free.
I'm sorry, I was asleep.
Yeah, that leave is pretty messed up, huh?
Yeah, I'm just glad I don't have to read the news this time. Feeling all right?
Yeah. I can't believe I missed that IV. I freaking suck, man.
That's what the drill's for, baby. You can't beat yourself up. Besides, I already drove her car for Brady. There's only so much we can do.
Are you the medics that brought that woman in from the car accident?
Yep.
I just wanted to say nice work, gentlemen. She's gonna be all right.
What?
All right, as in alive?
She's alive?
Yeah, she's stable. We couldn't have done it without you.
Talk to me nice. Yeah, give me some, Doc. Give me some. Over here. Yeah.
I think we can even reattach her foot.
Or what?
Say what, Doc?
The foot.
Whose foot?
The patient's foot.
Tom, you got a foot, right?
I've never seen a foot before in my life.
How do we get over here without the foot?
I'm just kidding. She's got her foot.
I like it.
Honor is still a thing. Yeah, dude. New hero. Let's check him out. I'm not buying him. Bring our return now. Nice. The beginning of a comeback. Good thing I kept my cool and didn't go insane. That's. Oh, fuck, get out of there. Oh my goodness, I just got wombo comboed, man. Oh my word. End my life. End my life. End my life. Was there ever a pro scene in Sword Game? I don't know, actually. Probably, though it's not that thing in the background telling the himself, dude. I can't believe that still happens. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think these are baby lobbies. I tried. It could have been so funny. Light. I wonder if they can block and parry lights. Careful not to hit me, man! Dude, I got Chris Kyle over there! Hey! Get his ass! Get his ass! Yeah! Wow! Good fight, dude. Amazing shot. He didn't hit me once, dude.
The enemy rally.
What? He can get out of that? That's so cancerous. He can get out of that? I read it. I read his kick. All I'm doing is like feint into GB, man. I don't know how to conk. I don't know how to play this hero. Oh. That's how you play this hero. Bash. I wonder if these guys can block lights. I would like the chance to find out. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, I died. Oh no, I didn't. Light. Come here. Come to me. Over here. Where my sniper can see you. Hey, watch the fire! Watch the fire! Dude, he doesn't want to fight. They know I got a sharpshooter watching this window. Come here. No. Man the guns, men. Hey, watch it! He always goes for parry. Yeah, strong. Let's go! What a shot! I wonder if I can snipe from.
Key. Okay, so 6. What's good? Do I know sequel? Not really. If I'm perfectly honest, not really. I'm kind of trash at anything back-end related. I do have a guy on the team though that knows it. Why? You got a sequel problem? I mean, maybe I could at least help you through it. I have no idea, but we can see. Talk to me. What's up? Oh shit! That blew out my ears. Appreciate the follow. Should I teach you? I mean, look, I know the fundamentals of SQL is just creating tables and fucking, pulling shit from tables. It's not that complicated, but I'm Monsieur C#. That's pretty much C#, tiny bit of C++, tiny bit of C. Pretty much anything that has to do with game logic, a game loop, is me. Well, talk to me. What do you got? Fire, second year in high school. I love that. Hell yeah. Welcome to the grind. Welcome to the grind. No, it's not like C++ at all. I know that. SQL. All right, let me explain. I think what I know about SQL is that you make tables. Tables have entries, and you can make tables and tables, and you can have all these nice little fancy functions to put things in tables, take things out of tables, move things around in tables with different columns and rows, and you can traverse those tables, iterate over those tables, read those tables at speed. And that's my understanding of SQL. Because pretty much every backend is just a table. How exactly that works? I don't know any of the syntax. We could process. It's really fun, but one comma mistake, the query won't work. From what I understand, yes. It's the management. It's a lot of thinking ahead. You gotta, god damn it. You got my cable stuff again. Is it wrapped this time? How did I manage to do that? Saw this cable. Yeah, from what I understand, it's it's a lot of you got to think ahead. You have to architect things well, because if you create a structure that doesn't work very well, it's not very flexible. Yeah, you have to rewrite a lot of stuff. What language is it in? Thank you, by the way. Oh. Wait, but you just said it's not English. Oh. All right. Okay. Alright. Yeah, one sec. I'm just let's see.
Welcome, students. So today we are just going to solve one
Classic.
of the questions that is given in the book. So there is a table.
Classic.
The table is the fitness table. So it is a table that contains the manufacturers.
These guys are goats.
The manufacturers have they manufacture the products related to fitness. So this is the table. So I'm going to create the entire table in front of you, and then we will fire some queries. Okay, that has been asked as a question.
Yeah.
Clear the screen. That is system CLS.
It can be
Create table. Name of the table is fitness. Opening bracket, and then there is something called as P code, which will be the primary key. Now over here it is like P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6. We can also take this as a character.
This definitely also seems like a language that you
just to avoid some kind of
you can do it like in a naive way where like it's like a million if statements, or you could do it in like a like a smart way. Yeah, I bet there's a lot of like kind of leak code style questions for the sequel, just to test like how efficient you are with your queries, like how many queries you make, and also like how well structured your tables are, etc.
I will keep this as okay, I'll keep this as 50. Then next what we have is the price. So price, okay, I'm going to keep this as W. Okay?
Yeah. So types.
This as integer as
Oh, okay.
Let me keep it as double. And then what we have is the manufacturer. And this will be, that is the name of the manufacturer. So this will be char, and I'm going to give this as 100. Okay, so everything seems good to me, and this is okay. We are creating the table. So we have just created the table. Now children, if you really want to see the tables that you have created in the current database, so how you're going to do that? Just use the command that is show tables and give a semicolon, and it will show you all the tables that we have in the current database. And remember that the current database that we are working with is Sunbeam. Inside Sunbeam, if you can remember, we created the table that is student, section, and class. And today, just now, we created one more table that is fitness. So let us quickly insert some data into this table. So there are 6 records, so we will just race along with it and quickly do the data fitting. So I will say insert into, name of the table is fitness, and straight away I can give the values. Let me just type this in capital letters.
Oh, nice.
So this is 1.
Yeah.
And then I say second is that is name
I
of the
assume it
product.
was in this. It's
Okay,
cool that
so
computer
product
science is
is
being
grade
taught
1,
in high school now.
and
Yeah, obviously, it used to be like only a
price
college thing.
41,000, and then we have score. That is the name of the manufacturer. Okay, and we have successfully entered the data. So let me just first clear the screen. So
Oh,
system
HTML.
CLS,
Okay. Fire.
and this is the
You center your divs.
that will be change the values. So that is the record 2 that we have, and name is bike. That's the product, and the price that we have is 40,000, and name of the manufacturer that we have is A1. Okay, so done. Then we will have 3. Name of the product that we have is cross trainer, and price
Okay, let me put this on the side here.
that is 14,000, and name of the manufacturer is reliable. Then we have the 4th. Then name of the product that we have is multi-gym. Multi-gym, and
Oh,
price
nice.
is 34,000, and manufacturer is the one that we had before.
Oh shit. Oh yeah, I gotta.
Done with that, and now
There we go.
the 5th record.
Okay, so we need activate trigger to be.
And at the same time, it will help you to remember all your commands. Okay, so that during the exam you will not forget it. So again, I repeat, children, please work with this particular mode, because for exam point of view, it will help you to remember the commands pretty nicely. So that's the 5th record I'm going to insert, and that is a massage chair. Okay, and the price that we have is 5,500, and the name of the manufacturer that we have is Regros 10. Okay,
Nice.
that is a Regros set. Okay, done with this. So now comes the last record that is given, and that is 6, and the product name is Belly Vibrator Belt, and this really sells a lot nowadays. Everybody has this problem. Okay, so 6,500, and then what we have is that is Emboa. I don't know how to spell this. That is Emboa. how I'm going to spell it, pronounce it, I mean to say. So, done with the records, children. Now let us just select star from fitness. And these are the records that we have inserted into the table. Now let us fire the queries, and the first query is to display the names of all the products with price more than 20,000. So we have to display all the records, okay, all the products which has the price more than 20,000. So how I'm gonna do that? It's pretty simple.
So yeah, then you can get into the fun stuff of like using Postgres and like more complex SQL databases and how you, because they all have their custom stuff, don't they?
And we have treadmill and multi-tool. These are the two products that you can see which has the price more than 20,000. Let's go for the second query, and the second query is to display the names of all products. Display the names of all products by manufacturer alone. That is not alone, sorry, A1 I mean to say. With the manufacturer A1. So I'm going to say select star from fitness where the manufacturer is equal to A1. That's A1, and that is the product that the manufacturer A1 is producing. Okay, so children. Okay, so let's go for the next record, and the next record that we have, the next question that we have is to change the price data of all the products by applying 25% discount, that is a reduction. So we need to reduce, we need to apply the discount of 25%. Okay, so how will...
No, I don't need that to be a...
I'm going to say something like update. Okay, update. Name of the table is fitness. Okay, go to the next line, and then I'm going to... It is not necessary that you have to go to next line, but that query looks quite formatted in this way. So I'm going to say set price equal to, and I'm going to use price. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to minus. Okay, I will just read out the question again so that there is no confusion. Change the price data of all the products by applying 25% discount reduction. So we need to reduce 25% basically. So I'm going to say minus 0.25, and into that is price, right? And let us just give the enter, and now let us just check the records. Now these were the prices. That is 21,000, 20,000, and now we will check the data. So I will say select star from fitness semicolon, and you can see that there is around 25% reduction. Okay, all the prices. So this is how you can do it, children. So I used 0.25 to price, so that's the formula. So this is the formula we have, and that I will minus is the price. Okay, so price minus that formula for calculating 25% of the price, and then minus that price and goes to the price itself. And so we have this out. So I hope this is clear to you. Now let us go for one last query. There is a last query in this, and that is to add a new row for the product in the details. So we have to just select row can see, children, how quickly I just went through all the all the queries. I feed the data. It did not took much of a time, almost all the time that might take you working with the MySQL workbench. It is the same time, so please work on this particular mode. Then I will just check whether we have something else, a small question that we can take. So there is one question that is for the gym table, and okay, so this is also one of the table. So this was the table for fitness, and then there is one more table that is with the name gym. So let us just clear the screen and quickly run through it, children. So you can see how fast I can do this. Like I can say create table, name of the table, I give that as gym, and then open the bracket, and what I can say is that is I code. That's the name given. So I code, and I keep this as integer and set this as primary key. Okay, so that was the first field, and then we have I, that is I name. So I name, that is char I can give as 100. Done with that, and then I can give price. I can give price, and keep this time as integer. Okay, and then we have the brand name. So brand name. So brand name, and this will be char of 100. Okay, so that's it in the table, and now the table has got created. Let us quickly run through. Okay, I'll write the new one, that is insert into what, into gym, and values. Let me just quickly enter the data. So that I name is power. I'm going to keep it as small letters. Okay, power fit exercise, and then we have 20,000, and then what we have is power gymnia. Okay, power gymnia. Okay, so that's the first row that we have entered. Now it will be very easy. So this is 2, and the name of the product is, that is aqua fit hand grip, and the price that they have given is 1800, and the brand name is reliable. So reliable. Done with that, then we have the third record. The third record is cycle bike. Okay, let me just quickly run through it. Cycle bike, price that they have given is 1400. Sorry, it's 14,000, and the brand is eco bike. And then we have the fourth one. So this is the fourth record, and that is Protonor Extreme Gym. Very unique name. And then the price that they have for this particular gym is 30,000. Even the price is unique. Okay, and that is Costco. Okay, done with that. the records present in the table. So let us quickly run through the queries, children. So the first query is to display the name of all the items whose name starts with A. Okay, so how I'm going to do this is A. Okay, so let's just write select start from where display all the names of the items. So that is I name. Okay, these are the item names where I name is equal to something like capital A. This is what they have asked. So all the item names starting with capital A, and then you can use something like person if I'm not wrong. Let's just check this out. Okay, and it says empty because there is one that is item name that is A. So what we had, what option we had with this? If I'm not wrong, person sign is used for that. So let me just check. I like. I think I use something like. If I'm not wrong, and that is the answer. Okay, so be very careful. Okay, this is not equal to, but this is like. So I need like, and then A, and then the person's sign. So it means after the A, anything can follow. Okay, so we have done this for the first query, and the next query that we have is to display the I names of all items whose brand name is reliable or cost code. Reliable or cost code. Okay, so I will say select the name of the field that they have said is I code comma, and I name from Jim, where the brand name is equal to brand name, or I can simply use brand name in. Let me try this. Okay, brand name in, and I will give the name that was reliable, comma, and the second item I can specify what was that? Cost code. Okay, let me give this, and here it is. So it has worked pretty nicely. So I have used that in operator. Okay, in. Okay, so this is also another way you can do it, or you can use that or, but I think this is much better. So they have given the item name that is their brand name in reliable. Okay, so I hope it is right. Item name of reliable is Aqua Fit Hand Grip, and for Costco it is Protonal Extreme Gem. So fine. So the third query is children. That is to change the brand name to fit trend area of the item whose I code as 101. That is 101. That is the first record. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say update name of the table is Jim. Okay, name of the table is Jim. I'm going to set that what that brand name is equal to, and what they have said is I have to change that as fit trend India. That is the name of the brand, and then what I'm going to do is, okay, something mistake I did. I used the double quote. Just a minute. It is stuck. So okay, so Okay, so I that is the Fit Trains India. So we have successfully changed the brand name, children. And then last,
Hello?
add a new record.
Hi, what's up?
It's pretty simple, children. You have to use.
Wait, I can't hear you for some reason. Give me one sec.
Alright.
Now. So insert into name of the table is gym. Values, I'm gonna say 7. That is what they have given. And then we have Vibro exercise. Again the same thing. That is Vibro exercise. Then what we have is 21,000, and we have GTC fitness. That's it. Okay, so we have done that, children, and here are the records. So you can see, children, how quickly I did everything. So you can also do it, children. So this was just a practice session, few questions that I took to solve, and we are going to take some more complex one. But tomorrow we are going to learn something that is called as the joints, the various joints. I'm going to talk about.
Still cannot hear anything.
The left joint,
All right.
the right joint, the inner joint, the left joint, which is about with the.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, no, he's not even here anymore.
Yo.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. I need help with testing.
Okay.
You have a sec.
I do. Yeah. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right. All right, let me. Got to switch some shit here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's all pushed up. If you would switch to my
Yes.
wrench, great.
All right, I will be right back. I'm switching right now.
Okay.
Alright, still switching, but what are we testing?
All right. Just to see if there's any issues in multiplayer. See if you see the changes that I'm making to clusters and shit like that. You know.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And yeah, there's a design question,
Mm-hmm.
or like something I want to discuss. Because obviously, like thinking about the system and using the system is like kind of different, and I was wondering if my feelings are like mutual, you know.
Mm-hmm. What's the scene?
405.
All right. Okay.
All right, I see you.
Yeah.
Do you see these blocks?
I do, yeah.
Try grabbing them.
It's scuffed. It doesn't want me to
All right.
be able to move them.
That's a
And like
problem.
the yellow block kind of like is over here for me.
Yeah, no, that's purely local. That's for debug. Can you spawn a block?
Yeah.
Oh, I can grab it. Are you
Yeah.
still grabbing it?
No, I'm not, but like if you let it go. Basically, you're just not taking ownership of the transform.
Right.
Should only
But
be
I
the
do
transform,
request ownership. I do request ownership though.
though. Of everything or of just
The transform.
well, you may be spawning it with like spawning the thing with owned by client on. So like the real time. I mean, we could just check right now actually. Because if you request the ownership of the transform, if the real time view is owned, you get blocked.
Oh yeah, that is it. I think yeah, that was in the line that in Inacon's hotbar.
Yeah.
I remember that line.
So it shouldn't be. Yeah, no real time view should be on here.
All right. Can you push that line? Like, just change it and then push it up. So
How the fuck am I changing it?
Because you say you're gonna check. All right,
Yeah,
let
you
me
change it, asshole. What the fuck? I'm gonna change it.
Bro volunteered and
No.
freaking chickened out.
There's no way. No, I just know what it is. I'm not changing it. I don't know where the fuck it is anyway.
Luckily, I do. Give me 1 sec. So for all these like prop spawns, owned by a client should be false, right?
That's right. Yeah. And there should never be any like ownership requests for the real-time view or any of the
On the real-time view.
Yeah.
Got it. That's what I thought. Let me push this up. Okay. It is pushed up. Let me hop in first because I want to see the late joiner scenario.
Wait, you mean wouldn't I hop in first in that case then?
Sorry, what?
Wouldn't I hop in first in that case then?
It doesn't matter. It would just be like whether or not you can grab it as a late joiner, whether or not you see the same thing. So just talk to me. Talk to me. It will be fun.
Okay, I'm jumping in.
Yes. Do you see? Where are you?
I'm jumping in right now.
All right. Do you see these boxes?
Yep.
Can you grab it?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, now I can grab
As
it.
a cluster too. Nice. Yep. All right, stop. All right, now grab it again. Nice. They're all individual pieces now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Try welding two together. Just try playing it, you know. Just
Yeah. No, it
as
works
if
great.
you're a new player. You see the bounding box, right?
Yeah, I don't know how to unweld things though.
You
Hold it.
hover over one thing and hold the trigger.
Got it. Okay. Sick, dude.
Where's this cube for you right now? This one that
I don't
next
see
to-
any cube that you're holding, to be honest. Oh, now I see him.
Oh. The transform are a little weird. Hold on,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
It's kind of like goofing around here.
And also, I cannot grab this cube.
Okay, wait. Grab it from me. Try and grab it from me.
I can't.
All right, you grab it. All right, yeah, I can't grab it from me. All right.
This one works fine, but there's one stationary cube that's kind of broken.
I don't know which stationary cube you're talking about. This tiny one?
This one right here.
I don't. It's invisible.
I know.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
So there are 4 cubes.
There are 3 cubes.
Yeah, but for me
for you there are 4 cubes.
There are 3 cubes.
For me, it's 3 cubes as well.
All right, let's look at the.
That one I just can't touch, like the one you're doing right now.
This one.
This one, yeah. I can't grab it. Oh, now I can grab it. What the fuck?
All right, so our cubes are in the same place. You have 2 here, 1 here, right?
2 here, 1 here.
All right, so then if I put this together, there's 3 here now, right?
Yes.
And if I take that one,
wait,
take that one up.
Hold on.
Yeah.
The hierarchy is not synced.
That's what
I'm grabbing saying. One of it.
Yeah, no, I just unwelded that one though.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Let's just try this again.
God damn it.
Let's try this again.
All right. Weld them all together.
Yeah, you do it. All right. All right. So they're welded together. All right. Now.
Yeah, I see it.
It's one thing. I'm gonna take the top one off. So it's off.
Yeah. They're all off because the bottom 2 weren't connected.
Oh,
it does like an automatic splitting.
Okay. All right. Well, let me touch these properly then. All right. So it's touched.
All right. They're all welded.
All right. Now I'll take this one off.
I don't know which one. Okay. This. All right. Cool. Is it back together?
Okay, so if you hold on, all right, now if we I'm trying to weld that. All right.
Oh, it actually works. All right. I don't know what happened back
there. Is a hold on. If I were to take one of these off. Yeah, there is sometimes a moment where the transform definitely flickers. Like I'm guessing because the reparenting. There's like a couple of frames where it like shit's fucked up because it's parented on your client and not on mine. Do you do a local parent before you do and then you do like a network parent on real-time model replace?
Yes.
I'm wondering if doing everything on real-time model replace isn't a bad idea, but like regardless of whether you're the local client or the network one. And I don't know.
There was a bigger issue than flickering.
Yeah.
Like for me, there was one cube that was just there, and I just can't touch it for some reason.
Yeah.
But now it's all like interactable again. I don't know why. All right, check this out. I'm gonna weld these 4 cubes together. Wait, why can I? Oh, there we go. Why can I weld these 2 together? What the hell? Works on that. Works here. But the check is a little off. But anyways, so let me unweld the center one. Are these 2 still connected? For you?
Yes? No. These 2 are, yeah.
Nice. All right. So you see what I just did there? Like now it won't let me connect these 2 to that one. It won't let me parent this cube to. Oh, there we go. I think I just need more lenient welding checks. That's it.
So I have an idea that might help with the flickering. So when you, the moment you parent, so if I'm thinking about this, right? If I've welded something, I cannot move it individually anymore, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we just turn real-time transform off temporarily? Like, not turn it off, turn off the position and rotation sync, because it's only syncing the local values anyway, and those will not change.
You mean for what, the root or the child?
The child's. So anything that's the child, while it's, when it gets welded, we just turn off the position, rotation, and scale sync, which you can do. You can turn it off individually without turning off the component.
Right.
It's what I do for parenting to the car, actually, like players. I turn off their, because we.
So even though like parenting status might change across network, it's not gonna influence like the. What happened to this fucking cube? I can't weld anything to it.
Basically, the reason is because parenting already controls that position for us, right? And what this turning off the real-time transform sync does is it means that the last position that it was in before you like literally welded it and parented it yourself, like before you do that position freezes, and then we parent at that point, right? So because
but then if I move the cluster and then turning it back on,
it would only mean that there would be a slight discrepancy in actual, like if you are on a moving object, there would be probably a discrepancy. I mean, what you could do still is you could probably just like turn it off and then turn it back on very momentarily, just to allow that like couple of frames to pass. Because it is noticeable, I won't lie. Like, it happens a little bit with players, parenting to the car. Sometimes you'll see that. You'll see them, like, jump a little bit. But it's like, that to me is like, all right, it's fine. Like, but this seems like it's going to happen all the time, Like, building is, like, a much more common thing.
Mm-hmm. And also, I've just been thinking, like, I think the experience will be more pleasing if we allow penetration. Just like intersection of props.
I don't agree. I mean, I get what you're saying, and it kind of does happen still. It just happens because shit breaks a little bit. Like this.
Like
I just broke it. I guess it happens because I'm like really trying to jam this prop across, and then like it eventually.
Yeah, if you slam it like hard enough, it will sometimes go in. Especially on corners. Especially when it's like rotated.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that will happen, and I can call that like glitching, players can glitch stuff. That's okay. But I think not making it a rule that like it's something you can't do. I think it's just healthier, to be honest.
The reason I am bringing this up is because of the sockets. So like, I feel like sockets will only make sense if intersection exists. For example, if I join these two together.
Is this the design question you're asking, by the way?
Yes.
All right.
If I join these two together. You see how the bounding box, because I'm using like an AABB bounding box, that's like the most performant one. It also works very well with rotation. So like this. You see how the sockets are inside of that bounding box. Now if we were to use sockets.
I'm confused about what you mean.
So picture the sockets beyond each of these faces on the cube.
Yeah.
And if you grab this whole thing, if you grab the cluster, you can see the yellow box, right?
Yeah, it's it, but because the whole thing's skew. Hold on, there we go. All right, yep. And you're saying the sockets would be beyond the or inside of it?
Yeah, inside of it.
Okay.
Which would prevent penetration. Unless we want to switch to like the OBB box, which rotates with the, but it's like much heavier.
Wait, I'm confused on what you mean because the penetration does not behave based on the same shape as the debug bounding box. It's like, because I can put an object right there and that's inside the bounding box.
I guess it's the bounding box is only for like ground and stuff like that. And
which is fine. But how do you do the, like, I can't penetrate the other box with this box, which you can do, by the way, if you're holding it and I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you know, might as well just allow penetration altogether.
Just roam with me on this, KT. Let's just say it's not allowed. Explain to me why this isn't working.
So, alright, how did I put it? You see, okay, if you rotate this cube 45 degrees, it can't really...
Okay, let me look at it myself so I can visualize it. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that's the bounding box there, and then, okay. So I guess...
You see what I mean?
Oh, it's because you're using the bounding box... Okay.
The bounding box is always on the world axis.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. The bounding box, you're using it for the thing that you're holding, not the thing that would be snapping to.
Yes.
I mean, why don't you just make it on the local axis then? I mean, I don't know.
That would mean syncing the rotation with the bounding box, recalculating. I mean, I can try that. It's just, I remember there was a reason I did this, but what was the fucking reason? It's just like Unity doesn't have a built-in implementation of local axis bounding box. You have to like manually implement it.
And the reason you're...
And I don't know, chat was like, this is a bad idea, don't do it. But you know, she could be wrong. And I also tried using just the colliders, but that was very heavy, especially with nested colliders under one hierarchy. Like, we have to use bounding boxes. We cannot use just the colliders.
That's fine.
We'll get insane.
Okay, so let's think about it like this.
But do you see what I mean? That the sockets would kind of be awkward if we were to do it that way.
Yes, but I'm just trying to think about what are the workarounds? Because here's the problem with allowing for penetration KTs. You lose all of this. You lose like all of this, like, oh, like I still want them to be touching, but I want it like that. You just lose that.
Not necessarily with the grid thing though.
Again, grid, forget grid. Like I'm not gonna lie, I fucking hate grid because we can use it, but as a convenience. Like assuming that players are going to build everything on a grid is essentially just constraining them. Like it means that free movement.
It's a tool that they can use to do exactly what you said.
Yes, but if I wanted free movement, because again, remember we've mentioned already that grid is going to be the grid size is going to be increased dramatically, right? Like,
yeah.
So that I'm stepping one whole box probably. Like it's it's not going to be like half a box or a quarter of a box. Like this just feels great. Like it feels nice. Like the ability to like this constraint. I like it. And it feels intentional. Like it feels like it makes sense. And so if I were to use snapping points, in keeping with these constraints, then I would probably I mean, the challenge is that it's less about the bounding. It's less about snapping, to be honest. It's just more about the fact that this could be like awkward, like that.
Or we just don't do snapping at all. Like right now with this, you can basically put it wherever you want if we don't have snapping.
Yeah. But snapping, I think, is crucial for like things like ramps. It's just a must. Like where things can't be off, in the slightest,
Again, grid comes in right there.
Nah, fuck grid.
You're just hating for no reason.
No, I'm
to
not.
Be honest,
I'm hating for very valid reasons. Like I understand grid as a symmetrical thing. And a lot of building systems a lot of build systems use a grid. However, where grid falls completely apart is if you don't build every single asset to work with your grid, and also if players want to move something that is not constrained by grid, like that is where it does kind of fall apart. And I think our game is just more like that. So like people will use the grid, I think, just for, if I want to move, to your point about like kind of like I want things to be equally spaced and like, but in terms of objects interacting with each other, like actually how they touch and how they're positioned, it's just snapping is just, I cannot see any other way other than it being like the better option.
Yeah. I just think either we keep snapping, we get rid of grid entirely, and then we allow penetration, or we use grid, we don't allow penetration, and we do snapping, or we don't do snapping. Because these systems are, if you want too much, if you want to put too much in, it's gonna fight each other all the time.
Okay.
To me, I get it. It's nice that props are like sliding on each other, but that's because it's cute. Like, if I do this, right? All of a sudden,
it looks great.
Like,
it looks fantastic.
What about this? Now it's rotated that way. Loaded.
Yeah, it still looks pretty fine to me. It looks sensical, at least. Looks like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can't shove this thing into that thing, Feels pretty sensical.
Yeah, but then again, I don't really see a reason for sockets anymore. Like you can achieve the same things just with some time, and to be honest, I don't give a fuck if this is at the perfect middle of it.
You don't if if it's an alarm light. You do if, let's say this is a ramp and this has to be like perfect, otherwise I bump in the middle. you know, when I'm trying to drive off the ramp, my car bumps. That's where it really does matter.
I feel like for these construction props, we just follow certain design like guidelines and build them to fit the grid.
No, I'm really not.
You're not gonna weld the ramps together. Like
what you will
you shouldn't have to.
No, but what you will do is you'll put like a ramp, you'll make like a road in the sky and then like put a ramp on the end of it, you know, where like each piece of the road has got to make sure that it's perfectly flat so that like, you know, I'm driving on the whole fucking thing and then the thing goes on the end, you know, like, I don't know. I you know, I get what you're saying. But I would be more inclined to like allow intersection, but like essentially just say this like bounding box here, you could like turn it off and on and make it visible to the player, you know, like, and that's your like, you know, if you want things to not touch or whatever. I don't know, where's a con? I mean, we need a third opinion on this.
He's busy working on.
Yeah, as in like working on something? Is he available? Like, you know?
He's working on something.
Well, yeah, then get him in here.
Yeah, call him. But also the reason I bring up intersection is welding will be probably twice as consistent if we just allow intersections. Because right now I'm doing like freaking bounding box on the fucking edge detection, and I'm doing like a expand volume, like the bounding box slightly bigger than it should be and all that. And sometimes it's still, like right now, it just doesn't. It doesn't.
I feel like you could change the settings, you know, or like you know, improve it. Like
what's up? Oh, this one's going crazy.
Okay, so we're testing, you know, the build system right now, which by the way is fire. Like I do want to make that abundantly clear. Like this is dope. But the so from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, KT, the current challenge is that we have this constraint system that makes things not intersect, and that's dependent on a bounding box that gets drawn, basically. And anytime you have clusters, it creates like a bigger or smaller bounding box, and so then that's what enforces like things not intersecting. And that's all fine when objects are like, you know, straight up and down and yada yada yada, but you know, once I rotate a cube, because the bounding box is in world space, the thing kind of becomes differently, you know, you can get situations like this where it's like clearly not really touching, but the bounding box is touching, and that disconnect is like apparent to the player. And mixing that with sockets would mean that there are cases where the bounding box system is saying, hey, like this is, you can't go any further, but the socket is asking the object to move further. And so then like, you know, basically the snapping system kind of gets a little bit fucked up, but also just this general like fucking constraint system or whatever has some inconsistencies. So I guess the proposed solution is we no longer constrain anything, so everything can intersect.
No, only the props. Between the props, they can intersect. They still cannot go through the ground and anything. That's just a layer setting thing.
Okay, the props can intersect with one another. So and then we, you know, keep the sockets and, you know, that system, or we like get rid of sockets, and like keep this system, or some like middle ground where we or we like change the way that we do constraints. But from what I understand, doing it based off of like checking a collider is much more intense and inefficient.
So I was thinking about this. What do you guys think about a split system where some of them, like the blocks and stuff, they just snap, and something like an alarm light where, I mean, I'm comfortable only allowing players to snap the alarm light with like a socket by having one socket at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Or what I was thinking is like a jump pad, right? So if you want to snap a jump pad like sideways to a block so you can like wall jump, then no matter how you have it rotated, if you bring it up and there's a socket, then it'll like rotate itself to be flush to the block. You know what I mean? So say I have it rotated like 30 degrees about the X, 30 degrees about the Y, it's like all fucked up. I bring it close to a block that has a, let's call it a receiver socket, then the jump pad will snap flush to the block. If I move it away, it maintains its rotation. So that way, if we distinguish between like receiver sockets and like donor sockets, or I guess the block would have a donor socket and the jump pad would have a receiver socket.
Mm-hmm.
So anything with like a donor socket doesn't change its orientation based on a socket interaction, but something with a receiver socket does change its orientation. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do get what you're saying. So just to give some context, I already, so my thoughts about sockets was exactly this, that you can control, like some objects only have one, they have one exactly, and that's the only place where it'll look nice, and you can control that. And then other objects like cubes and ramps will have more because they're primitive and we want them to be able to be like snapped in different configurations. And so, if you're going to use the snap system, you're basically accepting that, one object, like if, to your point, like a jump pad, a boost pad will only ever snap where the boost side is facing, away from the snap point. Right. That to me is like baked in. Like that's, if we're using sockets, like that would be that's like the reason and the methodology. I think the question about this has more to do with like whether or not we keep this like constraint system where things can't intersect. And like, because we could work around the constraint system with a socket, right? Like if a socket is detected, like the constraint system just gets overridden, that could be, I think that could absolutely be done. I think the question is more about, like this constraint system seems to have like some quirks, just more generally, that like, when I'm, like it'll feel like certain objects, like I should be able to like touch parts of this object more than I currently am, because it's the bounding box is calculated in world space, I'm guessing, or what Katie said, and it's basically just some inconsistencies with it. And obviously we've already been able to break it, like we've already been able to intersect shit and all that stuff.
And the fact that when we're both holding something and it allows intersection, it's like, oh, now all of a sudden I can intersect it. When I'm doing it alone, I just can't. Like, what the fuck, right?
Well, that probably just has something to do with, because if it is just a bounding box, like...
No, I'm not saying it's a bug. I know why it happens that way. I'm just saying, if that's the behavior that players see, like, they're gonna be like, what the fuck? Why can't I just...
Right, yeah, we would have to fix that, like, obviously.
We're probably not gonna fix that, because when you're editing something, and another player is editing something. Like both props are in sort of like that being moved mode, and for it to be checked against like other moving, I don't know, it's just,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can
think
do
it's-
it. I think you can do it. It's annoying as shit, don't get me wrong, but yeah, like I definitely understand it's like annoying. It wouldn't be worth it if we didn't like the system enough is basically what I'm kind of getting at, is the question. So what I'll say is I like the constraint system a lot just for the way it makes the game feel. I feel like it just makes the game feel more like real, even if it can be broken, like, you know, because that's just glitching a game, you know, like and like there's a line where it's like if you can break it really easily, then yeah, it feels like kind of a faulty system. But if it is somewhat hard to break, then that's just, you know, that's more just like a kind of a quirk of the game. You know, there's that line, we all know it. But in general, it makes the game feel like more real, you know, more like a, you know, like a real world in a way, like a plausible space, with rules. And that feels nice to me. That feels like it would make people engage more with like the world of our game, you know. Beyond that, as a convenience or as like other things, like those are all things that I can like take or leave. Like, yeah, I really like the idea that like, you know, it allows me to have things that are still flush, but in a position that's not on the you know, snap point. But you know, that stuff's a little less, you know, I don't like, I could take or leave that. It's just more about how it makes the game feel for me. I don't know, KT Con, thoughts on the
I feel like we're already drawing a pretty clear line between the build mode and sort of like the locomotion mode. And I want to emphasize that line to be more clear. Like in build mode, like shit can intersect, but once you put them down, right, basically they become like in-world object, and you cannot go through them, basically. And I think that's like also a valid worldview to build upon.
I would say yes. Only the only problem right now though is that build mode and locomotion mode exist in the same mode. So like other games that do this have a separate customization or like map building mode that you go into, and then you create the map and then you go into play mode, where you can never enter the build mode again, right? We don't really have that, right? We just have like you can enter and exit build mode in a lobby on a whim. And so that's where like I feel like the constraints feel nice. You know, it feels like, you know, it's like this game has rules still, and I'm like creating things, but in a constrained way. You know, it's more No Man's Sky, less Halo Forge. You know, where I'm still like in world. I'm not just like making a level in a game necessarily. You know.
Yeah. In that case, I will argue the socket is not necessary, because it's not really that hard to put two ramps together, and that's just like one use case. We're just assuming that players will just build ramps on the sky, but in reality, they're probably gonna, you know, spend more time on the ground, putting props around the ground, and you know, make roads like kind of like what you did in Get Set Go.
I see and respond to that with the last 5 playtests we've had, where every single one has converged to let's build something up there.
In Minecraft, you remember the first thing you did in Minecraft was probably build a sky bridge.
Yeah, and it's just because the
I don't know that we need sockets for that. What I think we need sockets for is if I want to place a jump pad and like if I release the jump pad and it's intersecting with the block, then I don't know if the physics are gonna like freak out or you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna go touch it and then get launched into the block and like yes, that can be funny, but it's funny once. And it's funny if I somehow break the system and get the jump pad to intersect with the block. So I think maybe we keep sockets, we just use them far more sparingly. So that's the split between the donor and the receiver socket.
What's the donor and receiver socket?
So a socket can either be a donor or a receiver. All of these static props, like these block or these construction props, for instance, will only have receiver sockets. So the socket system doesn't actually apply when you're snapping two blocks together. But if I have an object with a donor socket or with a receiver socket, which means that the socket somehow changes the orientation of the object as I'm placing it, like a jump pad, for instance. That's like something that you want to be fairly predictable in like how you place it on the world. So if I place a jump pad that has a receiver socket onto a block that has a donor socket, then the donor socket talks to the receiver socket and says, okay, I want you to orient yourself to be flush with my normal and to be stuck to my center. And the receiver socket says, okay, and then the receiver socket tells the game object that it's on to reorient and reposition itself. So it's like snapping on steroids.
So, Akan, I get what you're saying. I actually don't think we need to complicate it that much. I think a fair middle ground would just be a lot of things don't have sockets. Or they have one. And or like one is the minimum. But like, so, you know, like the vast majority of things that have a lot of sockets are like the predictable shapes we like, and squares and fucking rectangles and shit.
But Rourke, the only reason I think we need this is so that we can be aggressive with the placement of certain props and be free flowing. Because if I'm placing two ramps together, I'm trying to snap them together and somehow I activate the socket system, then that's a shitty experience. Because it's like, why is this ramp fucking like flipping around?
Well, that to me is a simple workaround. That's where, to be honest, I thought completely differently maybe than you guys. I viewed snapping as like that's like a mode, you know, like, you know, because it's a convenience. But to me, the most important thing about snapping is it's literally just making sure that things are perfect in relation to each other. So two boxes create a flat surface on the top. Because if I'm making a road or if I'm making something in the sky with the driving system that uses raycasts, which with any deviation in height will produce a result, you know, like it could be a half millimeter, the car will feel it and bump, and that instability will just be transferred up. So it has to be like dead smooth, basically. That is where I'm like, with our shapes and roads and everything, we would need the snapping system. Because without that, there is no version where players would ever be able to line two things perfectly up. And I know, KT, you just say grid, but grid, to me, locks players into a grid. And that's annoying, because grids, like, you know, you can't really make a true three-dimensional grid that like works in all orientations and all different, like, it literally just means on the, you know, flat axis where things have to all be aligned in one certain way. I think about it.
That's
in
the
relation
grid right
to
now.
objects.
It is.
No, I know it's a three-dimensional grid. I'm talking if you can't actually make a true like three-dimensional grid that works in all like orientations. I'm more thinking about like two objects, you know, even if I wanted to like rotate two objects and then put them together in like a weird orientation, that those two objects will be, and whatever objects are maybe snapped to them will be appropriate. I don't know. That's my like That's like the reason why I'm like I'd be more I feel like we need the snapping system basically.
For me, that's something I want the players to ask for.
I don't, because they're not gonna ask for it. They're just gonna be like, this game sucks, because they're not gonna be able to build what they want to build. I just don't, I feel like it would not compute. Because what snapping does that's nice is it's convenient, but then also it gives players security that like, oh, what I'm looking at is actually perfect. Like, because like even with a grid, like if I put things like, you know, 2 things up, 1 thing up, like it looks flush, but I don't necessarily know 100%. Like, you know, that's like the, and I think most games that use a grid system just disguise it as a snapping system anyway. Like it looks and feels like a snapping system. It just works on a grid.
This right here that you just built is pretty cool, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's fine. I was just trying to go up. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I would be totally willing to like, you know, just make snapping like a, you know, you click a button and the things light up. If you don't, they don't. And
we don't have more buttons anymore unless we want to introduce new hand modes or ray modes.
Because the current buttons are, wait, let me
used up.
Oh, to change the free, oh yeah, because free mode to grid mode. Right. Well, yeah, it'd just be free mode, grid mode, snap mode. It'd just be an extra cycle, extra ray. Which would be like just a different version of free mode.
Yeah, and for it to work with welding, no, something doesn't line up. I can't put a word on it right now. It just doesn't feel consistent.
All right, let me reduce this then. We need 100%. We need the ability to have like primitive objects be perfectly put together. So if it's a ramp, if it's a cube, if it's a, we need rectangle, we need those objects to be able to be perfectly put together so that you can create a flat surface or that the car can drive appropriately on them. That's requirement number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Requirement number 2, I think, personally, we absolutely need our complex objects to be able to be placed like you see the alarm light here, conveniently, you know, where I'm not spending like 30 seconds trying to make sure that they're not like intersecting or touching, you know. There's some like positive feedback to me that like, okay, that thing is, you know, they're flush, right? I feel like the simplest way to go about both of those things is to have maintain a socket-based snapping system to achieve both those goals.
Or we just use the same bounding box like I kind of did with the old snap. Let me actually try it out right now. I have it turned off in this version. I'll turn it back in. Right, it doesn't work anymore. Never mind.
All right. Because here's where the grid falls apart for me, is that because with the grid, it's not just asset preparation, it's asset development. So like every asset has to first be developed in that grid square. And to like work in that grid square. And we're already thinking of introducing assets that have different sizes. right? So if I have an asset that's like an XL version of this thing, but we're stepping the same grid size, it falls apart, because normally you would make things where everything exists within that one 3-dimensional grid square. And unless we're going to like size up and size down the grid square for like the different sizes and players can understand that, I can sort of see it. That could probably work, but I think you would probably need to visualize the bounding box in that instance, and maybe even the 3-dimensional grid. Yeah.
Yeah, the easiest way I think I can meet those requirements is just say we allow intersection. All problems solved.
Yeah.
Is that a compromise you can make?
Yeah, it is. But
that's actually more freedom to the player. Say they want to make a dinosaur with some cubes, they can do that now. Not worrying about like freaking bounding boxes.
Can you check the? Because all right, this is the thing that I don't really understand. Right now, you're using bounding boxes. How do you check, like the object that you're holding versus the object that you're trying to not touch? Is both of them using bounding boxes in that check? Because it doesn't feel that way, right? Yeah. So what's the object that you're touching using? Is it the collider?
It's the collider, yeah.
Okay, so why don't you just flip that around? Like in, I guess that would have its own, it would just mean the same thing, but the other way around. And the reason why colliders on both sides don't work is because...
It's because Unity colliders suck.
Suck at?
Performing, consistency, scaling. Having multiple colliders under one parent, it will just fight each other all the time.
Yeah, but you're comparing a collider that's external to that hierarchy to one that's inside of it, right?
Again, like, whatever we say right now, right? We're just making educated guesses at the very most. Like, it's different between like vibe coding and coding. And when you go into it, you'll find, I've already found like millions of problems that comes with just using colliders in general. That's why at the first place I use bounding boxes.
Yeah, KT, I trust your judgment. I trust your judgment. I'm asking you to explain it to me, so I can understand it, because maybe I can help you figure out a problem.
Right.
So
the collider, I don't know why it sucks. It just doesn't work when I tested it.
So how does it not work?
It's not consistent. It's not, performant. It's just glitchy.
It, as in, like the sometimes it like bounces around, or it intersects.
You remember before, like, it would when you rotate something and you bind it, unbind it, it will appear bigger. Like the collider it feels like there's an invisible collider on that object.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, like in our last playtest, right? That was the colliders fucking up. And using, because we can't rely on collision enter either. That's like very, very inconsistent. So some sort of raycast has to happen, or sphere cast. I actually kept both in the logic. And using that to detect like nearby colliders, it's just not good enough.
Isn't there
It's not good enough at scale. Yeah, but that's even worse. Like that means like we're putting triggers on these props and all that.
No, not trigger. Isn't there also like a collision stay? Not like a separate. So let's just rewind. Essentially what you're saying is when you use colliders, and I'm, and touching two objects together, or let's say one object to a cluster of like 3 objects, it does not behave where like, this one object is just checking to see if there's anything it's colliding with and constraining and not allowing itself to move any further along that collider.
Yeah, and also the cluster itself, it has to be aware of its own collisions, because when you unweld one, they have to break into like, smart subclusters. And using collision is basically saying, I'm gonna do this check every single frame. Okay. And with a cluster of more than like 10 colliders, it's gonna break the game.
It's a lot. So explain to me why so currently when you unweld an object, you use bounding boxes to check if objects are touching?
Yes.
And
it's actually an extended bounding box that's a little bigger. It allows some gaps.
But essentially the same system you're using right now, but just like...
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And you make that check to determine the clusters. All right, that makes sense. Yes. To me, though, that seems like that could be a totally separate system from the penetration system. Because that, you're essentially asking, like, are these objects close enough? And you want to make the most efficient check possible. You don't want to check all their colliders. That's totally fine. The anti-penetration system is where you're asking the game to be more precise, basically. And you want to use a higher resolution system. Which in that case is colliders.
I don't get it. If you're using 2 systems, isn't that twice as heavy?
No, because
you have to run these checks all the time.
Let me try and understand. The weld system, when do you check something like the state of something being like welded together and like whether or not it should be a part of this big thing or part of like the smaller things? Is it at the moment a weld or unweld is made, or is it every frame?
It's every frame.
And why is that?
Because when you're moving things around, you have to check around it to even have a candidate highlighted in that frame. Once a candidate is highlighted, that's when you can make the trigger move. You'll see the, brown tint pop up, and it pops up that way. Because if we don't do that in every frame, there's no specific moment or input I can hook that event up to.
Okay. Roam with me here. I don't want to, couldn't it be the case that because to me, welding and unwelding are discrete events, and they should ideally be treated as such. Now, obviously they're not at the moment, and that's okay, but they ideally should be. If it's not possible that they can be, then that's one thing, but so let's take unwelding. Unwelding, you unweld an object, that object becomes detached. It makes sense to, you check one big check about all the other objects and then divide everything up accordingly. When it comes to choosing a weld candidate, in the event that we were using like a collider-based system to determine touching, couldn't it be quite simple to do like on collision enter, on collision stay, and just do collider other to see if it's a part of you know, essentially like a attachment point, and then determine if it is, that's like a candidate, and you just highlight that candidate. Then you're treating it individually, and so then the update burden is on the object that you're holding, and then the like cluster is a quiet object. It doesn't have like an update loop. Because wait, just so I understand, are these clusters running update just all the time?
Are these clusters running update?
Yeah, like they're essentially checking their own bounding boxes all the time.
No. They only... So bounding boxes actually follows the transform. What it doesn't do is it doesn't follow the rotation of whatever object it is on.
Yeah.
So I do refresh them only on rotation flicks, only on new like weldings or unwelding events.
Okay.
So every time something's unwelded, something's rotated, that's when I check. Okay, that's when I recalculate the bounding box for, you know, whatever cluster or subcluster.
So, what part of this is on tick, on update? Like, what's the? Explain to me which part of it is happening like every frame.
Let me look at it right now. So the responsibilities of tick, there are 7 of them. So it's responsible for ray distance climb, like checking the effective distance of the ray, compute desired cluster position if I'm holding a cluster, blocking constraint, that's like the world sort of like blocking logic so that right now the props don't go into the ground, for example, or go into other props depending on the layer setup. The snap is irrelevant right now because I have it disabled, and it has to apply transform of whatever thing you're holding, and that's like the big thing, because to apply this transform you have to do these calculations every frame to determine whether or not this current position is a valid place for the prop to be in. And that's the main reason why these checks has to be run in tick.
Okay, but so to make sure I understand, this is happening in customization ray. And
no.
Oh, where is it happening?
This is happening in free move ray mode.
Okay, sorry.
Customization ray is
it's happening on the player,
like,
is what I was asking. My bad. It's not happening. It's not happening on the objects themselves. So like there isn't like a cluster of objects running this tick, just with not being edited. Is what I was asking. Okay, so
there's nothing running on objects.
In the event that you're not editing anything, you're not actually doing any of these checks. So the moment I pick something up, and the moment I'm like around an object, how does this compute desired cluster is essentially just this, where this like extended bounding box gets created, and how are you checking it against other ones?
So for anything you're not currently holding, that's essentially just a collider.
Okay.
Right.
And you're checking the bounding box against that collider.
Yes.
All right. And the reason why checking a collider against the other one is inefficient is because when you unweld something, you have to take everything in the cluster and run that same check. All of them. Okay, so what I'm suggesting is, why don't you keep the bounding box system of that specific unweld moment the same? like make it the same check, same style check, because that's your rough check. But when you're holding an object, and I'm just trying to edit this one object and move it around on this cluster using the high resolution check, which is checking collider to collider.
But does it mean when I'm near another object, I need to turn off the normal, like, apply transform checks, whether or not, like, I can place this object in this position at this tick? I replace that with the collider check now. So it has to account for, you know, not just the snapping points on this object that I'm close to, but also the world around it, so it doesn't go into the ground while doing snapping, right?
Well,
so it doesn't.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, and when does that change happen? Like, when do I switch from the bounding box checks with? Yeah, go ahead.
This will be this is a great subject for code review in like 30 minutes, because obviously we'll be able to see the actual code. But I'm gonna assume this is how it works. Is that in what is it? Free edit ray? I'm just gonna call it free ray
mode.
All right. So in free ray, you have your like update loop. Let me share my screen actually so you can fucking read what I'm doing. And in update, you have the so run it through me. You run it through for me again. You have what's the order of things in update for in tick for free ray?
It's like 500 lines, but
I know, you just the functions, like the steps, because you have like update transform is one of them, but like there were other ones.
In tick, right? You're asking tick.
Yeah, tick.
So ray distance clamp. So determining how long the ray is.
Right.
Depending on blocking layers.
Yeah.
That's how I do like sliding on the plane.
All right. Okay. Cool.
So compute this. I'll just paste the comments that I have in the code.
All right.
I think that works too.
All right. That works too. All right. So compute desired cluster position. All right. So that one's one that we're considering. Compute cluster. All right, we have blocking constraint, which is I assume is the one of the things we're talking about. So that's another one.
Row checks.
Oh, this is like the floor. All right, I'll call this floor constraint. All right, so and then we have snap preview. It's not important because that's snap for right now at least. And then we have the big one, apply transform. So that's the all right, and then also another big one is weld candidate. All right, and stick state machine, whatever, I don't really give a fuck about. So if I understand correctly, when I unweld something, right? So when I hold the trigger on it, there's some other, because that's input, right? Something gets flipped, right? Something happens, basically. And what you're essentially saying though is compute cluster is, I guess, asking, am I like, did I just unweld something from a cluster? Is that like the check it's always doing?
That's actually not what it's doing. So cluster is because when you're in a cluster, the movement logic changes from between moving a single prop and moving a cluster. I think this compute cluster is more like you're holding this whole cluster, and where is the center for that cluster at this moment? How should I, move the object when you're holding this cluster so that appears that the cluster is not, so that you're not grabbing the root,
every object is a cluster technically. It's just, does the cluster have more than one thing on it? Right.
Yes.
Okay. Rock on. And by the way, tick only runs, I assume, when you're holding something, right? Basically.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Rock on. So we have that assumption. Tick is only running when I'm holding something. All right. Compute cluster is everything is a cluster. That makes sense. And so then apply transform and weld candidate are running all the time too when you're holding something. Okay. This is starting to make a lot more sense. So if I am holding a cluster, or no, not when I'm holding a cluster. When I unweld something from a cluster, right? I have not held it, right? I am now unwelding it. How do we where do we recompute the like new clusters? Where does that happen? Is that happen in the unweld like there's a separate method called like unweld?
Exactly. So at that moment where detach happens,
yes,
calculations are made with helper methods. That's called not in tick, but only in that moment.
Perfect. So this is the crux of what I was saying by separating these two things. In here, I assume you also have a version of like cluster bounding box, whatever, like, right? Like bounding box calc. Right? You do some like use the bounding boxes to make these new clusters, right? You do the similar checks you have in, I guess, apply transform and compute cluster position, right? Just here, right? What I'm suggesting is you keep this logic in here using all the bounding box stuff, and you update the logic in tick to use to consider like colliders. And the reason I don't think this needs to be incredibly complicated is because you don't need to constrain position with a collider anymore, because colliders do that for you. Right? Like they already like essentially bounce things around. I mean, you're not turning it to be a physics. You're not turning it to be a physics object on, but you're essentially get all these little, collision events that you can basically like bounce things around. Like you're just getting on collision enter a bunch of different times, right?
Here is where it breaks. Because I'm driving the position of an object based on calculations, I cannot rely on the colliders to just passively push my object around.
Yes.
Because that will fight with the ray logic.
Yes, I agree with that. I'm saying that you can't, it's not a physics object enabled. Well, you could do that, you could do that, but there'd be a whole host of reasons why that might be. Also, one important point that we all forgot about. They don't have rigid bodies. Right. If this was if we wanted to do this the way that Half-Life does it, it would be that the edit ray mode wouldn't be purely kinematic. It would actually be a physics-based ray mode that you would attach a rigid body to the root, and the thing would just knock into stuff. That would be the way that you would do it. And in theory, that works totally fine, because we're already making the assumption that when something is welded, it is like you cannot move it. It has to be unwelded to move.
But again, network scenario with rigid bodies turning on and off constantly, it's just a formula for bugs. It's just a formula for inconsistencies.
But we already do that all the time. Kind of.
Well, yeah, maybe they have more than a week, Rourke, with more than one person. Have you ever thought about that?
Yes, I have actually, KT. I have. That's why I'm trying to help you. All right. Well, I mean, I guess what I will say is that there is in theory a kind of clear workaround here, which would be every prop does have a rigid body. It's kinematic. And when you grab it, you flip the root on, and yeah, well, yeah, I mean, then it introduces totally different problems with snapping. That becomes like a different thing to be annoyed about.
And also, I tend not to touch things that I, tried so hard to get working. I know that changing the fundamental logic of how things are, detected, how things, check for other colliders, changing that thing will just break this whole thing, and there will be strings attached that's broken, and I have to go back in and try to find them, and that's not going to happen with the time that I have. I just don't have time, Rourke. I really don't.
Well, yeah, but you're now not working on anything else, right? So we can budget that other stuff, and I know polish is a big part of this, but we just got to get it right. Like, I don't care what result it is. So it's either you're getting it right with this current architecture, or you're changing it, right? That's the kind of options. There are certain things I'm not going to compromise on, and I think one of the things I'm not willing to compromise on is just allowing for intersection willy-nilly. I don't like it. It makes the game feel squishy, and like these objects don't actually exist, and like that to me kind of sucks. And so it's like I'm down to try and help you figure out the best way to do that with your current system, because yeah, I do think it works really well. And there's probably a way through that you can get the desired result. Because the thing that I'm thinking about is like whether I'm holding a cluster or an individual object. Let's say you don't use rigid bodies and you do it based off of calculations with the colliders. You're still only really ever dealing with you're only ever dealing with discrete pings from any collider that gets touched, right? So in the event that I'm touching this one object to this bigger cluster, like I'm only pinging off the one or two or colliders that I'm ever actually touching. Like it's just this one thing. Where you're talking about where it gets not performant is if I have like a ton of colliders. Each of them contributing to update transform. Except, if we establish that they should ignore each other, which isn't necessarily that crazy.
All the collision methods that we're talking about requires rigid body, which we don't have access to.
Right, but we could put a rigid body on everything and make it kinematic. Like, we don't have to make it...
No, we cannot. It fucks with moving. It fucks with the movement of clusters. Like, it will do like a weird lerp, even if it's kinematic, because rigid body doesn't like to get moved with just like transforms.
I don't know. But then how do we do our like current grab systems? That's exactly how we do it. We just turn it to kinematic and then we move it.
I
For,
guess
like,
it's like
capsules.
some parenting.
We
I
don't.
guess it's parenting issues.
We don't. We
No,
don't.
no, I
parent
mean,
it. Oh.
for props. For props. Unless you turn it off and turn it back on, but that just doesn't make any sense, right? Like, when they're parented, they're not rigid bodies. I don't even know if turning off and turning on is like a valid option, to be honest, in the network setting.
We have plenty of nested rigid bodies. Like, we have nested rigid bodies with the player. You know, right now with the explosion system, that they're just kinematic. They're just kinematic. And they're parented to the root rigid body. I don't really understand how this is. I mean, I understand how it becomes an issue if they're on, right? If they're not kinematic. If they're not kinematic, then yeah, the rigid body will always fight the, moving something with a transform. But kinematic, even in a parented state, it shouldn't.
Right. How about this? Let me actually try it right now. Maybe, as you said, it's fine. I'll add a kinematic rigid body to the cube and see how it does. Because when I tried it yesterday, it wasn't working. Maybe I can be wrong.
I mean,
let me just test it
on
right
collision, because collision events. By the way, collision events, yeah, they don't run if one of them has to have a rigid body. I mean, you could just attach a kinematic rigid body to the thing that you're editing and then take it off.
And even that, like, even the collision events, I just don't trust them. Like, they get fucked up all the time. They're not reliable when you're moving fast, all that.
Well, it's, yeah, you need to check that's where you need to change the collision detection, which adds it fucking adds performance bullshit.
Kinematic rigid body is actually fine in the current setting.
So, all right. Let me just make sure of something. All right, so assuming, yeah, okay, I mean, it's got a kinematic rigid body on it. I mean, on collision stay is a real thing, and it's just every frame that two objects are touching, it fires.
Right, I know, yeah, but
yeah.
even if you pull it apart for a little bit, it will end this process, whatever you're calling in on collision state. There's no room, there's no range or like flexibility on that. It's just they have to be dead ass touching. And if some part of like bounding box logic prevents them from touching, that's not getting called.
Right, but that's where that's why I'm saying you shift the bounding box logic out of, like, you take it entirely out of your tick. Like, you're no longer using bounding box and tick. You're only using it in that discrete unweld like recalcul event, basically.
So I don't know how I can deterministically calculate like the position of an object. Say if it's not, I see a surface that I cannot penetrate, like the ground, and I'm just using the collider, and I wouldn't know where to place it if that is not a, because I'm still using the ray tip as like the desired position. And if that position is not valid, then I have to do some algorithm to calculate a substitute position that's available to me. With a bounding box, that calculation is easy. With a collider, sometimes a mesh collider, that's gonna get fucked up.
And I mean, so you so with a bounding box, essentially you but it's still using a collider as a part of it. This is what I understand. It's like the one thing I understand about a bounding box is that it draws a straight line, right? So it's like you're essentially comparing a straight line versus a more complex shape. So I assume the calculation you're doing is something along the lines of like the next best position is where like that straight line is not touching this collider, like that position or something. I don't know. That's how I guess you're doing it. But like if a collider's already involved, like I guess I'm like, how does that recalculation get like messed up? I mean, I understand that it becomes slightly more, like you're.
So the collider is mainly used to determine where the bounds are for that box. They're not really used in any of the position calculation.
But I don't think that's true because, okay. Let me, from the experience that I have, let me make sure I'm being clear. If I'm like holding this phone, editing this phone, and this thing is the cluster. What I've seen when I played it is that if, let's say the phone is a perfect square, like I could touch it to like all the points on the controller.
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
Yeah.
It's just that if the phone were to be rotated in like a weird way, then like, I'd get a little bit of like this, but you're using the collider of the controller or whatever the other object is to constrain this object. You're just using a bounding box on the object you're holding.
Yeah. The simple.
So how does the retrace work in that case? And then I guess why wouldn't it work also with like
I guess the simple solution to this is just to somehow rotate the bounding box based on the rotation of the object. Doing some manual calculations on where each vertices are, forming a box that way in every frame.
Well, no, just let's rewind for a second. Explain it. Like, how do you redetermine? Like, I know obviously there's a shitload of math, but like, if you were to dumb it down for me, with the object you're holding, how do you update its position based on the collider that you're nudging up against? You use a bounding box for the object you're holding, and you're using the collider that you're nudging up against. And the ray is the desired position, and you need to compute a new position, like based on that relationship.
You go to line 1672
In what?
for free move rate mode.
All right. 1672.
Yeah.
All right.
So take that method, paste it into chat, and it will explain it to you. Much better than I can.
1672. Constrained move with blocking. Current center position, cluster center local, desired position. Okay. Desired position. Okay, you're creating a skin. That's a good start. I kind of get that. Alright. And this is where all the math starts. Alright, yeah, let me see how the fuck this is working. So
You see the line where it says physics.boxcast.
yeah.
That's not the collider. That's a box cast.
Yes.
And you're using the hit point of that to determine how much you back off, how much you slide. And that has nothing to do with the collider. Colliders is just to determine where this cast starts. What's its, dimensions and all that.
Try to move to hit something. Objects to treat as support. Alright, so center of your cluster. Yes. Cluster center, not the transforms hit it. And then at the end, it converts to steady state. Alright, so nothing to block against. Sweep the shape, sphere cast. Alright, sweep the shape. And the current center is towards the goal. Right, so you're doing a box cast, alright. Right, okay, so okay. what you're doing is you're moving the object virtually. So you're moving it. Basically, you're saying move it, simulate what would happen if I were to move it to this desired position. And then if I'm touching anything, when at that position, we need to recalculate. That makes sense. Now, you could do the same thing with a collider, where you would do, it's like compute penetration. So you would move the same way.
Penetration, you still use raycast. You don't use the collider for penetration.
No, but you can
use whatever spearcast and raycast.
Okay, but you can do that based on the dimensions of the collider. It's not perfect.
When it's a primitive,
yeah,
I don't know how you're gonna do that with mesh.
Right, that's where I'm like in a lot of cases we're probably going to not use like really complex mesh colliders. We would probably use box colliders anyway, but this would allow it to be agnostic of current orientation. So like I'm down to compromise on like, all right, we probably just have to have simplified colliders in most cases, if not all cases. Or like dynamically create one or something. But we would in that case then, like, even if the object was like this or like this or like this or whatever, it would still it would work the same. So it doesn't have to be like world oriented.
All right, I think it will be more helpful if we talk about what we want from a design perspective, and I'll try to make it happen. Just, general terms, what do we want as mechanics? And I can give you like an overview of, do I think it's possible and why or why not I think it's possible. If it is possible in any way, I'll try to make it happen. You'll just have to trust me on the implementation.
Fair enough.
Because, I don't think I need to waste your time on this. You also got a lot of shit to make. Akan has a lot of shit to make, and we're just running short on time.
There's a lot.
Just let me cook.
Yeah, but if you're gonna eat, all right. There are things where we're just gonna need all work on it. Like, it's fine. Like, that's what being a team is. We're not like a bunch of individual people.
Yeah, but no, not for this script.
All right.
Trust me. Just trust me on this, and I'll try my best to make it happen. Whatever we decide on.
Okay. Well, the design goals are pretty simple. I need objects to have their positions constrained. They cannot intersect by default.
Okay.
If we whatever reason want to be able to remove that later on, I'd rather remove it than not have it.
Okay.
So we need that. We need that to be as high resolution as it possibly can be, so it's sensical. I can't have an object that, like, these meshes visually aren't touching. Why aren't they? Like, why is it constrained? Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And we need to be able to support snapping at sockets.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to make it happen.
All right. Well, we're already in code review anyway, so we might as well hang out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's close. I think it is very close.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you out of this, but I just like, what I'm going to try to do is figure out a way for these bounding boxes to rotate with the object. That's like the closest we can get to whatever collider shape, right? Mesh collider or whatever. It's gonna build a pretty accurate, like you can see from
basically what has to happen that I think is like the challenge is that, yeah, and by the way, it does, is that there should be something visual of the mesh that is touching the other thing. Like that is the ideal situation, right? Like if there is not something visual of the mesh touching the other thing, it does not feel like it's touching.
Okay.
So if you can dynamically like rotate, like create a bounding box where like there is always like, you know, the possibility for a visual thing to touch, then I am go for it. Like I think there's probably ways to do that. You may need to consider context. Like, am I close to like a cluster of things that I would want to touch this thing to? So you need to maybe do like an optimistic sphere cast to then be able to like push the bounding box so that there's an edge that's touching, like oriented, you know?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And let's talk about sockets, right? So they are essentially child transforms that's oriented in a certain way on the surface of the mesh that other objects can take this rotation and transform and place themselves.
Yeah, sorry.
Like other objects who has sockets. It's basically a node-to-node system, right? If I'm understanding it correctly.
It's node-to-node.
So basically taking my previous snapping system but pre-build it, essentially.
Yeah, so it's node-to-node where these, I mean, it's a solved problem. Like people have done this. I'm guessing the exact implementation. I watched a couple of videos. Was like, you have like, you know, the two empty objects, both children, right? And you make sure they share the exact same world space and orientation. So, like these two empties share the exact same world space and orientation, and then however you need to move like the object that you're snapping to fit that requirement is how you like join the two. But that's like one method.
So say I'm holding, right? Say I'm holding prop A. Let's try to draw this out. All right. Let's see.
The way that I understand it is, if I have, if I have a triangle here with a socket on one of its sides, and I have a square with another socket right here. So this socket, even though it's a child, has like a world position, right? This world position, let's just say for the sake of argument, is like 1, 1, 1. And its orientation in world is 1, 1, 1, right? But this one is, its world position is 2, 2, 2. And its world rotation is 2, 2, 2, right? What you do is you calculate whatever is required for this object and this one to share the same world space. And they need to be basically sharing the same, I believe it's like the same like normal, like they're pointing in like the same direction.
Or a different direction.
Yeah, something like that. It's
opposite direction.
I need to watch the video, basically. But yeah, it's there's a couple tutorials on this, but they all essentially center on the same idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you see, the problem with that triangle is that because we're doing 45-degree rotations, if we have an edge that's shaped like that and it's not 45 degree on any axis, it's gonna break the rotation forever. You will never be able to come back to 45 if we don't, I mean, we can just do the closest 45 for rotation.
Yeah.
After you take it off, but that's just allowing for more rotation possibilities now.
That's fine. I mean, it's constrained. It's not, it's not like, I mean, we're not rotation Nazis here. We want things to be rotated a certain way because it just makes things a little easier. But if something comes out like a little funky and then you rotate it and it rotates back, like that's fine. Even if you keep it a little funky, like I'm cool with that.
All right.
But just look it up. Like look up. There's a couple of actual like ways people do this and have done this.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe I just like, when there's socket nearby, I just skip the fucking world block checks, jump straight to the positioning. Because at the end of the day, it's just, once you're past that snippet, you don't really need to check it again until something else happened, like welding, like fucking, right? If I'm just trying to place this here, I just skip these checks and do some socket logic instead. I think there's probably be a way.
Yeah, there's probably there's a zone, there's a range, right? Like the socket has like a range when,
like a spear cast or something.
Yeah. And when these two sockets like touch, or it's probably would be from the object you're holding, right? You go for it. Each socket would probably have a sphere collider on it or something like that. That's trigger or something. I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And you would probably have like just for a feel, like game feel, it would probably be like a little bit of magnetism, so that like when you're moving something from a socket, you kind of have to like really move it. Like you gotta like move it more than like an inch just to like pull it off. And then you gotta get like kind of close. You gotta get two sockets close together to sort of snap it.
I might then remove the grid mode altogether and replace it with like the socket mode where it uses specific logic to move stuff. It still does penetration, it still does like, but it just like optimizes for socket snapping.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
All right.
Let me get. Oh, there's a bit of. Howdy.
Yo, what's good?
What's up?
What's popping?
What's up? Been a while.
Yeah.
All right.
How's everyone today? What do you guys say?
Pretty good. Just having an intelligent conversation with Rourke.
Imagine.
Imagine, yeah. It's like
it's
like a foreign
so
concept.
fucking nerdy, bro.
You're all retarded, like, not participating.
Yeah, bro. It's above my pay grade.
So, you guys all saw my message in developing, right? Like our DM.
Nah, I don't read those.
Fair enough.
No, but
I'm above that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that's cool, bro. Didn't read it. What's that shit on Twitter or it's like Instagram? I see it in the comments all the time. It's like I ain't reading all that. Anyway, yeah, KT brought up a very good point. Like Wednesday to Wednesday is sort of awkward. Like the original intent was that we would, ideally, I think we're thinking of Wednesday being like our update day. That might even change. It might become Friday, like, to be honest. But that was sort of like the original, and I wanted to like make the cadence around that. But I was talking to Chris last night. I guess the way that the update cadence works when you push a new build is that every new build has to go through like Meta's automated system to be like approved. I guess. So it's pretty much like apparently it takes like a couple of days at most. You know, never really, but they say 14 days, like up to 14 days as being the most it could take. So, you know, with that in mind, that being like a possibility, it's probably that we'd have to have like a decent amount of lead time on, you know, like pushing new builds. Since we don't have like an over-the-air update system at the moment, which makes our update cadence a little unpredictable. I'll have to talk to Chris and even Neil about how, or I guess we have our new guy Tyler, that's like our store guy, about how
His name's Tyler?
Yeah, about how like can we, you know, get an update approved and then like only push it out to the release channel, you know, like because you can like upgrade, you know, so I think that's how it works. Just gotta make sure. Anyway, so with all that said though, we can, I think, pretty comfortably just like shift the schedule to be like actually a proper week, being Monday to Friday, which is just better, you know, to your point, KT. So what we're gonna do is we're shifting the merge day to Friday. It is Friday like 1 p.m. though, Eastern, so it's like, you know, it's not like a full day on Friday and you can merge at the end of the day. It's like right then. And yeah, and then also we're moving the QA. Nikita and I will either QA over the weekend or like QA Monday morning when we have our like usual meeting. If we do it early, don't worry about that. We'll figure that out. But the Monday meeting, we've moved like what was QA for Thursday to Monday, or sorry, the QA review. So like we all talk about it, we rescope. So that's happening on Mondays now, and and we've shifted the 2 code reviews around. So today is regular code review, and then Friday is the merge day. With all that said, for today, I think we've done a shitload of work, and we didn't really get to go through any of the code that we made last Friday, right? Because we had to, we did like that long rescope that ran into code review. So, I want everybody to go through like the work they've done, I will, and just, you know, explain it the same way. I'm going to take some notes this time because I'm going to take a stab at doing some documentation. I'll probably be doing it on like Fridays and stuff, but I need to figure out exactly how I want to do it, like whether I'm just going to feed like AI all the necessary scripts or other shit, but yeah, it's explain your work fucking day. So with that said, KT, since we've been talking about your shit for the past fucking hour and a half, why don't we start with you? Unless anybody has any questions.
Sure.
All right.
Before we get into that,
yes.
Yeah, all this recent developments and shit. Again, I haven't had the chance to speak to Chris yet, but timeline-wise, we're still shooting for mid-Feb.
That's right.
For all this.
18th, we need our build locked.
However, February 2nd, we will have a live game.
Yes, which is uncomfortable. So I guess to explain some of that, Meta requires us to launch our game, right? We have to go through like their store process, and we have to launch with the build we gave them in QA. We can't give them like a different one. Chris needs to launch the game so we can get paid our final installment. Because we only get paid if we launch the game. We don't get paid even if we like pass QA.
Right.
So he needs to do that. And I guess in talking with Neil suggested if you're going to patch the game, you should wait at least like a week. Right? There isn't any like post launch QA. It's not like they're gonna like look at the game again, but you should probably just like wait a week. I guess that combined with us trying to invoice on like a net 30 so we can get paid so that we can put money into marketing and stuff. I think Chris determined the second was like the best day for that. So the game will go onto the store, but be essentially invisible. Because it'll be buried in like, in the same way that like Bark came on the store first, it was like very, it took a while to find it. What we're essentially banking on is that nobody really finds the game, which is kind of impossible, but
imagine it goes viral. It's like, oh, what is this game?
Yeah, well, that would suck. The real risk, and it is a risk, is that some people find the game and like review bomb it because they don't like it, or like the race mode is broken. There's a lot of broken shit in that game. That build, and because of that, if you get below 3 stars on your rating, you don't actually show up in search. So if you're below 3 stars on average, you don't show up in search.
So one of us just go do like a 2-star review that basically hides it.
No. Well, I don't know. I don't know. That might be the right idea. I don't know. Chris, I think, has got a plan for it, but what we have assurances is that there will be no marketing for the game. Like, absolutely no marketing until we ask for it. Now,
okay, that is until we ask explicitly. That is not like, hey, on the 18th when we're putting out this newer version,
yes,
marketing, and we're now on the shelf and shit.
However, Chris, I think, intends to use that card immediately.
Fuck no.
That's the thing that I talked to him about it last night. Admittedly, I was a bit nervous about it. I still sort of am, but he's kind of like, we got to chuck ourselves out there. So, Abina, if you and Abina, Nikita, and I, we could have like a separate conversation with Chris about that, but that is the current plan. And I guess he has communicated that plan with Meta, so maybe that's like a little bit set in stone.
Goddamn. Okay, yeah, that's what I really wanted to check by asking all of this, is that we're basically on the shelf mid-February.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever we put out is the shit that like will get marketing spend behind it. So all of the things we're making now is and will have marketing spend attached.
Yeah. But I think that was kind of a given. I mean, so the one thing
we
that's...
got a chance to like smoke test our shit with real people.
I mean, ideally, I would wait a couple days, yeah, like a week maybe, but I don't know. I think it's kind of just go. The unfortunate thing is that in theory we're supposed to get 2 shots being on the shelf. We're supposed to get 1 for early access, and then we're supposed to get the second for full release. Chris is, I guess, asked to not use the early access thing. That it's like, because it's suspicious, I guess, that we would ask for it like later, but not immediately. I don't know. He's communicating with the corporation. I'm not doing it. But I guess he doesn't feel like it's guaranteed that we're going to get that early access bump when we want it. So we're going to have to take the early access sticker off for the bump. Now, if you ask me candidly, that makes me incredibly nervous. Because I feel like players give you a benefit of the doubt if things are in early access. Apparently, according to Chris, they don't. Like, he's been talking to Meta, and they don't give a shit. If your game sucks, it sucks if it's in early access or not. But the vision of the game that I am sort of releasing is very much like an early access game. So, I don't know. Maybe we just need to talk and just get really, really clear on exactly what the plan is for that. But we are delivering a game on the 18th, and that game will go out to some amount of people, potentially everyone. On the 20th, it's supposed to.
Right. Okay. Yeah, just wanted to check. Yeah, this meeting isn't about that, obviously, but yeah, I have some concerns, but I will voice them tomorrow.
Okay. So, all right. So going back to fucking code review. God, what am I doing? I'm being retarded. Sorry.